I said to you during the game, Dan, and this has got across the front of his man for the shot. Darwin Nunez's movement is elite. Mm-hmm. Darwin Nunez's movement is up there with the great strikers that we talk about, the Vialis, the Rushes, who's all about movement. His movement is sensational. If we can add an end product to that, and I mean every single time, this guy will score as many goals as Haaland.
He was only caught off, if I'm right in saying, he was only caught offside once early in that first half. Yeah. And they then proceed to play quite a high line. And as you're saying there, he's on it.
They've got to play at a high line because they've got to do something to fill up the space in midfield where we're controlling the game. So they've got to get bodies in there, and they've got to attach the back of the central defenders to their midfield. Just try and stop our lads playing in the spaces.
But in them doing that, what I mean is they've taken that approach. But we've then been able to go direct, and Nunez there could have been guilty of being one of those strikers, because we've seen so many. Jesus does it for Arsenal now quite a lot. You know, there are other strikers in the Premier League that can just. They just don't read that line the best. Might be great finishers, might be great football players, but when it comes to being able to expose a high line and get in behind, they get caught out more often than not. Nunez's movements, as you're suggesting, mate, is quality, because there was only really one occasion. He gets caught out early doors, he's onto it, and then from there, he times his runs to perfection.
But he knows he can give you 5 yards, like the console in the bottom right-hand corner. He gave him 5 yards and he destroyed him to it. Now, if you bend your run properly, and you've got line-breaking midfielders, which last season we only had Thiago and he was never fit. You know, Jordan Henderson did the job for Liverpool. No one can dispute Jordan Henderson's career. These guys are seeing a different picture when they pick up the ball. So if you've got a guy who's willing to run into those channels, but willing to run into those channels properly, rather than just running down a blind hole, Lukaku style. And you've got the Szoboszlais and McAllisters of this world looking for them. We're going to reap the rewards of that.
Yeah. But you're right on Nunez, though, because his movement's obviously a key part of that, and his willingness to do it time and time again is also important, because you have got lads who will find you if you're willing to do it 100%. But you're right in the fact that I've seen a lot of footy players like him down the years, and some of them you think they were born offside because they're just constantly. But Darwin Nunez, you're right once, and that is really quite impressive. Actually, that's testament to his reading of the situation and his time with the runs and all that kind of stuff. And when you've got lads, like I say, like McAllister, Szoboszlai, Trent, of course, willing to give you that pass is key.
And the other thing is, obviously, the wingers don't fall foul to that as much because they're running from outside to inside, so the angles favour them a little bit more. So that's why they never really get caught in the same situation. But for your number 9, your guy up front, especially because that's his game as well. So it's all well and good, as you said, Lukaku. That's playing on the shoulder is Lukaku's game. If you're going to sit on his shoulder, he's going to roll you. But he's got to be either touch tight or he's got to know that he's perfectly timed his run. You said it just then perfectly, mate. He can give you 5 yards and he's still going to catch you. So it doesn't matter to do this, which is what makes it more impressive for me, because it's like he knows he's got that in his locker, and he knows that that's part and parcel of his game.
He picks a centre back out and thinks, right, I'm going to terror you for the whole game today because I've got your number. I'm quicker than you. I'm stronger than you. Like Sparrow said when we were watching the game, he's stronger than most of them as well. Physically strong specimen. So
it's like what Torres used to do to Vidic. Torres picked Vidic out every single time he played United, and he tormented him time and time again. And you're right, Nunez has got a little bit of that about him, but he's definitely stronger than Fernando Torres. Torres was wide, he wasn't. He had strength, but he wasn't as strong as Nunez. Absolutely, And Nunez actually gets in again. There's a massive header I want to touch on, but Nunez gets in again in the first half, and it's another one of those whereby he's got himself in the opportunity, and this is something we said a lot last year. We were all kind of, in one hand saying he needs to be scoring more goals, in the other hand saying, well, at least he's there or thereabouts. What did you make of this one, Errol? Because it's a lob he tries, isn't it? He ends up clipping the bar. But again, we're talking about Nunez getting himself in front of the goal, taking shot actions and sort of trying to make something happen. I think overall, people will say could have had a hat-trick, but also people might say really good performance.
I think, there's probably a little bit of a middle ground there for me, because I think it was... Obviously, it's not. We're not going to laud him for his finishing today, because obviously he doesn't get a goal. But it's all the other stuff that he did today, which for me it's equally as important. And it was what I was kind of referring to when I mentioned about Gakpo not really setting the world alight so far this season. If you're not going to be scoring the goals or creating the assist, and to be fair, Gakpo has had a couple of assists, but if you're not going to be the goal scorer, if you're not going to be that main threat up top, you've got to be able to offer something else for us. I think Nunez kind of assumed that today as a byproduct of his hard work. It was like, all right, it might not be my day to be on the score sheet, but the other things that I can do, and obviously that attempt, it's a good attempt, but again, you probably should get it in the back of the net. It's another example of where him, by being in the right positions, by timing his runs, by being an absolute nuisance to those defenders, it's another example of why he is going to get, again, you might not say he might not get the same goal tally as Haaland, but why he's going to be in the high percentiles for all of those chances created and landing to him, because that's what he makes himself busy. And then only when you make yourself busy as a striker, you're going to find yourself getting those chances. And I can't really fault him. Obviously, you could be really critical and say, yeah, he probably could have had a hat-trick today. But at the same time, I still think his performance, based on the back of last week's performance, he puts in another solid performance to me, which you think he's offered something different than what Jota and Gakpo have done so far for me at the start of this season.